What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. And I'm coming through with another video just for you. And when it comes to those things right there that I just mentioned, the discipline, decency, integrity, and respect, none of those are present in this video that we're going to talk about here today. And it's going to be another reaction video. And with all that being said, I'm going to get my screen shared bright and early so we can go ahead and get into it. But before I get to the video, let me read exactly what this is about. I'm sure you've all heard of this. So Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito is facing growing calls to recuse himself from January 6 related cases after a bombshell report of an upside down American flag flying on his lawn house shortly after the attack on the Capitol, which he claimed his wife did as part of a spat with an anti-Trump neighbor. Now, of course, it's no surprise that guys like this, when the pressure gets tight or when it comes to something like this, that they would throw their wives or anybody else under the bus. But I digress. So this video is going to be courtesy of MSNBC, so fair usage. And one notable guest on here is Ali Mustal. And if you checked out my post on Marilyn Mosby, I've said that when he talks about the Supreme Court and things related to politics, he goes in, and he's going to go in on this video too. And in addition to Ali Velshi, Jennifer Rubin from the Washington Post, I'm familiar with her work. She's on this particular video as well. So without further delay, y'all, let's go ahead and get right to it.
Joining me now is Elie Mystal, justice correspondent and columnist for The Nation, a fellow at the Type Media Center and author of the book, Allow Me to Retort, A Black Guy's Guide to the Constitution.
I have that book, and it's a good book, y'all. I recommend that you pick it up. It's a good book.
Joining us as well as Jennifer Rubin. She's an opinion writer for The Washington Post and MSNBC political analyst and author of Resistance, How Women Saved Democracy from Donald Trump. Good morning to you both. I will freely admit to being the dupe in this crowd because I'm the guy who said to my executive producer, there's got to be more to this story. Give him a minute, Elie, and Alito's going to come out with something that explains reasonably why he had an upside down flag at his house. And guess what? I was wrong.
Yeah, the reason why he had the upside down flag at his house is because he supports the insurrection. And I knew that before the flag story. I knew that Clarence Thomas supported the insurrection before I knew about Jenny Thomas's involvement, because you read their opinions. You read what they say. You listen to what they say at oral arguments, and they've already told you what they're about. They've already told you that they are MAGA-aligned pro-Trump insurrectionists, and the proof of all that is not actually in the flag story or the email story or whatever. It's in their written opinions. It's in what they've done for Trump since he launched his insurrection, which is do everything in their supreme power possible to make sure Trump evades prosecution and accountability for his crimes.
And that's what it all boils down to. I mean, they know exactly what they're doing. They're not making no mistakes, especially the 6 conservatives on the court. They're not making no mistakes. They know exactly what they're doing.
That's what they are, folks. That's what they've always been. And the question at some point becomes not who are these people, because we know who these people are. It's what are the rest of us going to do about it?
Okay, now let me pause right there, even though I just paused it. So, my thing is regarding the Supreme Court. Let me focus on the Supreme Court. Now, I don't necessarily subscribe to the whole court packing thing, because let's keep it real. We're never going to see an instance at the Supreme Court where it's packed or anything. I think for the foreseeable future, we're going to see just 9 justices, and the lifetime appointments, those are going to remain. I would be surprised if some type of legislation comes down the pike and it's term limited. I'll be very surprised at that. Now, where do I stand on the issue? Do I support term limits? In the case of how the court is now, I would say yes. It definitely should be a balance. Now, I'm not saying that it should be all liberals. I'm definitely not saying that it should be all conservatives, but it definitely should be a balance, because you don't want a situation that we're in now, which is 6 conservatives and 3 liberals, And I'll say this, Ketanji Brown and Justice Sotomayor. I think I mispronounced that. And Justice Kagan, bless their hearts, considering what they got to put up with, especially Miss Ketanji Brown Jackson, but I digress. But I'm not sure if I'm for or against expanding the court, because see, what happens here is if you expand the court, and it tends to favor liberals, then the conservatives want to come in and add more people. Then the liberals want to come in and add more people. And then you're going to get this rinse, repeat, and then it's going to result in court packing, So I think for the foreseeable future, like I said, it's going to be 9 and it's going to be lifetime appointments. I don't see that changing. And like I said, if it does change, I'll be surprised. And also one more thing from a future legislator standpoint, would I vote for the expansion? I'm not sure. Would I vote for additional justice? I'm not sure. I would really have to, get some more political insight and then form an opinion from there,
And what are the rest of us
yes.
willing to do to stop them?
Right. And as it relates to the Supreme Court, Jen, our options, i.e. the options of the rest of us, are relatively limited, and at the moment seem to involve either protest or making sure that the Supreme Court is one of the reasons you vote whatever way you're going to vote in November. But short of that, what else can be done? Because as we've learned from the Supreme Court, nobody's the boss of them.
Well, right. 2 points. First of all, he went to Fox News to dispute this. Consider that.
Yes.
Okay, right there, that part. Now, if that don't tell you anything else, that should tell you a lot. Going to Fox News. We know what Fox News is on. We know what they're about. So the fact that you would go there to dispute this or make any kind of statement, that says a lot. And again, that ain't no mistake. When you go to a place like Fox News, it's clear what audience that you're trying to, get to. It's clear who you're trying to speak to. It's clear who you're aiming to speak to. It's clear who you want to speak to. And that's no mistake. Now, going to CNN or going to MSNBC, I mean, that wouldn't happen. Now, my thing is, why even bother to make a statement anyway? Because, I mean, it's going to be met with a grain of salt. And like they're going to mention in this in this video, the Supreme Court's approval ratings are down bad. They're real low. They're lower than Congress, which should tell you something. But then again, I don't think the conservatives care. I think the liberals on the court care. But as far as the conservatives, they probably would not care if the approval rating of the Supreme Court was at 5%. As long as they serve as long as they serve the conservative cause and get paid, they probably can care less about how the American public views the Supreme Court. And apparently, Chief Justice Roberts cares about that, but his actions would tell you otherwise. But yeah, like I said, you went to Fox News, man. Come on. I mean, can it be more obvious here? Let's continue.
It goes to the outlet that is the propaganda mouthpiece that made up and ran with and ultimately had to pay a huge verdict for lies about the election of 2020. So put a pin in that. Secondly, It's not just that he was aligning with Trump. It's that he's aligning with a group that is considering, that is doing the work of overthrowing the Constitution. That's a clear violation of his oath. It's not as if he had a Trump sign, go Trump. He has a down with the Constitution sign, essentially, flying over his house. So what do? Well, first of all, Dick Durbin's got to get off his duff. He has been sitting around twiddling his thumbs on any kind of mandatory ethics reform. It needs to be on the floor of the Senate on Monday. Put it to the House and let them decide that they don't want to improve the Supreme Court. Secondly, there should be an impeachment inquiry. There's no excuse for it. Understand that while this was going on, Sidney Powell and her pack of malpracticing unethical lawyers were concocting a plot to have Alito intervene in the election count. That was their scheme. We have tape of Sidney Powell saying, yes, that was the scheme to get Alito into this.
And yes, that is true. Look, that if you're not familiar with that, look it up, y'all. That's true. That did happen. And as crazy and immoral as it sounds, it did happen. But such is life.
If that's not grounds for an impeachment proceedings, I don't know what is. Third, this is not just an Alito and a Thomas problem. This is a Chief Justice Roberts problem. He is complicit in this. He has the choice. He can go public if need be. He can demand these people recuse himself. He can go to Congress and ask for a mandatory ethics regime, but he hasn't because he is weak, because he wants to allow the conservative majority to remain so he can advance whatever political views he has.
And Justice Roberts was appointed by President George W. Bush. So I'll let y'all make your adjustments on that. But yeah, as far as a recusal, in this case, Justice Thomas and Justice Alito, they're not going to recuse themselves. But hell, have no fear if Ketanji Brown Jackson or Sotomayor or Kagan, if they was involved in some controversial like this or worse, it'll be a damn movement out there asking them and not asking. It'll be a whole damn movement out there demanding that they recuse themselves, demanding that they be impeached for their actions. But when it's the conservatives, we'll just look past that. Oh, he didn't mean it. He didn't mean this. He didn't mean that. There's always every excuse in the book. But like I said, if it was the liberals, the response would be totally, dramatically different.
He is complicit in all of this. Ultimately, what we need is investigation. We need court reform. We need Democrats in this election to elevate court reform, come out in favor of not only term limits, but in my book, at this point, we need court expansion. So there's lots of things to be doing, but we cannot do them if people like Dick Durbin sit around and say, oh, please, Mr. Alito, would you recuse yourself? That's not going to get the job done. And Democrats shouldn't tolerate that kind of mamsy-pamsy approach.
And pardon me for the premature pausing, but yes, court reform in a case like this, it would help. And like I said at the jump, it should be done in a way where it doesn't favor liberals. It shouldn't be done in a way that it favors conservatives. It should be a balance, a healthy balance that should make the whole process less partisan. That's what it boils down to, y'all.
Can I add one more thing on Roberts? Because Roberts doesn't have a lot of hard power, but he has a lot of soft power over these people. And one of the tools in his bag that he refuses to use is that there is no reason Sam Alito or Clarence Thomas should be allowed to write majority opinions. That decision is Roberts, right? And he could assign. There's no reason Alito had to write the overturning Roe v. Wade decision. There's no reason Thomas has to write the guns decision. He can take those cases away from the men who are complicit, away from the men who are corrupted, and at least give them to Amy Coney Barrett. I mean, she's sitting right there, right? She's got her pens ready for action, right? So there are a lot of ways besides, in addition to speaking out and saying something about the court that he will be pinned to for the rest of his legacy. There are soft things that Roberts could be doing to rein these people in that he's not. But I totally agree with Jen. I mean, at some point, the Democrats just there needs to be a bill on the floor. When I come on a segment like this, Allie, I need to be able to point and say, like, look, everybody, we need to vote for Ethics Reform Bill 1827 because that's what's going to stop them. And I can't say that because Democrats haven't put that bill together.
Now, as far as I'm not sure about the Senate, but as far as the House, I don't see a bill like this coming up on the House floor, especially if it's in the control of the Republicans. If the Democrats were in power, maybe, but we're not going to see this on the House side. Now, let's say if the Senate comes up with a bill, it may not go nowhere in the House. I'm just keeping it real, even with the 1-seat majority from the Republicans. Let's just keep it real. So it'll basically be legislation that's needed, but it'll flounder because of who's in charge.
Right.
And
this is interesting. It's an interesting point you make. Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to say that part of the problem is the Supreme Court bar. They should be making motions to recuse these people. Those people who have been on the wrong side of 6-3 decisions, while these guys have sat on the court, should be asking for a rehearing. Judges who who did not abide by their oath, who have plainly repudiated the Constitution, decided these cases. So the Supreme Court bar has to get into this. And I will also make a point that the person who broke this story, Jodi Kantor, is a fabulous investigative reporter. She is not the, quote, court reporter. The problem is that the court reporters don't investigate and treat the court like a regular beat. They don't do investigative work. They don't press for answers. They do not treat them critically. They are so in awe of their subject matter that they act simply like the press office of the court. So more Jodi Kantors, the press coverage of the court has to change. And I think the bar that goes to the court has to begin to put pressure on them as well. There's a complicity and a sort of silence of normalcy that's got to end. This is a rogue institution that has gone off the rails.
A rogue institution. Ellie, I just got to ask you this. Samuel Alito, as you said, from reading his decisions, you can, and his opinions, you can glean who he is and what his politics are. And I can understand in a statement that he made to the New York Times, in which he shifts his blame on his wife. Fox News followed up with him yesterday, and they reported, quote, Alito added that he felt he had no right or ability to control or order around his wife. Understood, and that some neighbors on his street have been very political. Here's my question, and nobody's suggesting he should be ordering around his wife, but you are political, but whether you like it or not, he's political, you're political, Jen's political, I'm political, we are political beings. Was there a different way to deal with the fact that he had neighbors who apparently don't like his politics than to put the symbol out that said that he was prepared to see the overturning of an election?
And why are you throwing your wife under the bus? Let's carry on, y'all.
Absolutely, Ali. Look, I'm a black man on television. When I go out on the street, I got some neighbors who have some things to say to me, all right? And I'm really sorry if Samuel Alito and his wife had a bad walk around the neighborhood, but that's just part of the society we live in. And I'm sorry that they can't handle what I have to handle every Tuesday when they walk around their street. But they have to understand that they are public officials. Alito's a public official imbued with extreme, supreme, unaccountable power. And when he uses that power to, I don't know, take away the rights of reproductive health care rights for half of the American people, right? When they do things like outlaw affirmative action, when they do things like put guns on our streets, their neighbors might have something to say to them. Right? Their neighbors might have a word they would like to say to them. And as a public official, as a public person, you just kind of have to take it. This disproportional craziness doesn't hold water. You know, people are mean to me. I don't have like a Nazi flag flying outside my house. Right. I just okay, thanks a lot, sir. And I get
that wouldn't be the normal response. Yes.
Starbucks, right?
That's the part I was getting at. Like, I'm sorry your neighbors are not nice to you. I think people should be nice to people if they can. But I don't understand why that results in you putting up a symbol of some weird anti-democratic political activity. But, you know, we still live and learn about these things every week. Thanks to both of you. Ellie Mastella is justice correspondent and columnist with The Nation, author of Allow Me to Retort, A Black Guy's Guide to the Constitution. Jennifer Rubin is a Washington Post opinion writer, MSNBC political analyst, and author of the book Resistance, How Women Saved Democracy from Donald Trump. Excellent conversation with the two of you this morning. Thank you.
Yeah, I think they could have got a little bit more out of that, but I understand if they were pressed for time. So, yeah, man. So, just when you think the Supreme Court couldn't sink any lower based on account of the actions of the conservatives, let's keep it real, we get this. And they wonder why their approval ratings are going down, and they wonder why the public at large has less faith in them than years previous, or years prior, But what more can you do? So we'll see how this goes. As far as them recusing themselves, they won't. But like I said, if the liberal justices got anything resembling a controversy, it'll be a whole movement out there wanting them to recuse themselves and everything under the sun. Y'all know how it goes. So with all that being said, y'all, if you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of Deemed Discipline, go ahead and hit that like button and let me know your thoughts. What do you think of the Supreme Court? What do you think of the liberal justices, the conservative justices? Are you for court reform? Are you not for court reform? And what are your thoughts on this whole controversy with Justice Alito? You know, let me know what you think. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. And until next time, my people, take care of yourselves. And remember, the power of the mind is valuable.